Stop! Are you doing your MSP's SEO wrong? Make sure you hear this first, because if your MSP could really do with finding new clients and you need them to find your website, everything could be changing with search engine optimization. Why? Because AI and voice search is on the rise. So let's find out if you can use it to get more traffic to your website and whether you need to change your MSP's marketing plan. So tell me, how often do you search for answers using just your voice? And how often do you use an AI tool to search? Whichever specific tools you prefer to use. I think we can all agree that sometimes it's just easier to ask Alexa or Siri to search for something, or get ChatGPT to do a whole ton of research for us. But have you yet considered how that might affect driving traffic to your MSP's website? We don't talk a lot about SEO, search engine optimization, on this podcast or in these YouTube videos. I'm not an expert at SEO. There are much better people than me at this, and I prefer to get on guests to talk about subjects where I don't have a specific expertise. But I think we can take a holistic overview of the change in something as big as search. Now, if you're as old as me, he says, looking at his grey hair, you'll remember when search was really clunky and difficult. And yep, I'm talking about you, Alta Vista, back in the last millennium. And I'm feeling every single one of my 50 years right now. But honestly, if you weren't alive back in the mid to late 90s, you have no idea how bad search was. Yahoo was kind of doing its own thing by doing it manually. It was compiling manual links and editor-driven lists of stuff. And then you had kind of basic search engines like Alta Vista. There was a popular one here in the UK that was called Ask Jeeves, like a butler-type character. And I think that was ask.com across the world. Now, of course, we didn't know that the search experience was bad until something way, way better came along. And that thing was Google. Google really did change everything back in the day. Its method of crawling the web and kind of ranking web pages according to backlinks, which is how many other sites actually connect to them. And also its ability to figure out what the page was about. That was revolutionary at the time. And you can argue that Google has been so utterly dominant in search in the last 25 years. And even though that dominance is now under threat from a number of different ways, the next big shift after Google came along was, of course, the shift to mobile search. But what's that, about 10, 15 years since we all needed to make sure that our websites were optimized for mobile search and mobile access? But that's all very much a routine thing in 2025. Search itself is now undergoing its next revolution, which is where you're doing the searching without accessing Google directly. Let's look at the first of those, which has been around for some time, and that's searching with your voice. And there are all sorts of stats online about how much search is actually done just through voice. And you can summarize all the different stats, certainly just looking at what's happening within Google, as a quarter of all searches in the Google app are now done by voice. And I guess that's when you hit, the little microphone button to do that. To me, that's not really voice search. That's just an efficient way of adding text into the Google app without having to actually press anything. So what about proper voice search, like Alexa? So I use Alexa 2 or 3 times a day for simple stuff like what time my next reminders are or cooking timers, that kind of thing. Oi, I'm not talking to you. She just went off in the background. But I've been taught over the years by Amazon, the owners of Alexa, not to rely upon her for proper answers to anything other than trivia questions, really. Because if I have to hear the phrase, an Alexa Answers contributor has written, or according to the website complicatedurl.com, you get the idea. So it's fine when you're with your family and you're sat chatting and you want to remember whether or not a specific celebrity is dead without having to pull out your phone. That's what it can be quite useful for. But would I use that word with an A or Siri to search for an MSP near me? I don't think I would. Maybe I would use it to search for a restaurant that's open and, engage with them and maybe even ask what the menu was about. But would I do it for a managed service provider? I really don't think so. Because don't forget, managed services is one of the most difficult and complex B2B sales that there is. And that means that people need to go through a very big research phase. And they can't do that research phase while having a conversation with what is essentially a dumb voice assistant, because the intelligence is just not there. It's deeply frustrating when you're trying to do anything more than just look something up, something basic. So the obvious answer there, surely, is to get AI to do researching for us. And this is where I think new search gets really interesting, because actually AI can do the searching and can do the research phase for you. Just for this video and this podcast episode, I asked ChatGPT to do something for me. The instruction I gave was exactly this. I am looking for a new IT support company. I'm based in Milton Keynes, which happens to be where I live here in the UK. Please summarize the top 5 providers that I should be talking to and what the differences are between them. And you know what? ChatGPT did a great job. It pulled up 5 local companies, and for each one, it summarized what each of them would do for me. Now, it specifically summarized a sentence for each as well, called key differentiator. If I believed everything that ChatGPT told me, then this would have made my research really, really easy. I could now just book appointments with those 5 MSPs. And the latest version of ChatGPT even gives you the website, so I could just click and have a look at the 5 different websites. I'm sure in the future, and probably not that far off, it will actually be able to book appointments for me when it's an agent and it can access Calendly and access my calendar. It's not quite there yet, but I'm sure that's no more than a year off. I did a very similar search for the same terms, IT support Milton Keynes, on Google. And interestingly, I didn't see the same 5 companies in the same order. They were there on the page, but not in the order that ChatGPT put them in. I don't think that really means anything at this stage. But let's ask what this does mean in terms of what you're doing with your marketing right now. As I said at the beginning, I am not a technical expert at this, but it's clear to me that the AI search and probably the voice search as well, when it becomes smarter using AI, is just going to be a very efficient way of getting information out of your website and ordering it for someone. So I think we may be about to enter a new era of optimization on our websites. For years, it has been about search engine optimization and trying your hardest to get your website to the top of page 1. I can see how that's going to change. I don't know how it's going to change. If I did, I would make a fortune selling that to Silicon Valley, but we're going to need some kind of AI search optimization. And that's going to be about, I think, making sure that the information we most want people to see in a summary is most easily picked up by AI. And my initial online research shows that that's about getting the right keywords. It's about getting the markup right. So that's the kind of the information you put in the back end of the website that the humans don't see, but the crawlers do, the robots do. And also creating the right kind of content on your website. And I've made it my mission for the next few months to find a real expert in this and get him or her onto a future YouTube video and also, of course, in the MSP Marketing podcast. In the meantime, if you've gone in depth into this and if you've done a lot of work on your MSP's website, I would love to hear what you've done and whether or not it's made any difference, any big difference to the leads that you're generating from your website. I think we're very much on day 1 of AI and voice search, but it's so clear to see that this is the direction that we're headed in. We're going down that route, and it's going to become increasingly important. My final thought on this is to remember that all we're talking about here is new ways of getting your MSP in front of people, new ways of getting people to come to you and come to your website and see that you're around. It's still humans that are making the buying decisions, not the AI. The AI doesn't decide for you. It just summarizes what you offer. And that means you need to keep focusing your overall marketing on showing people who the people are behind the business. And don't get too logical with it. Give them emotional reasons to pick your MSP. I personally can't see that changing for years and years. I could be wrong, but it's something that we'll keep coming back to.
Paul Green's MSP Marketing Edge.